Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Thursday, March 28th, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, ready to break down the Wednesday NHL card. Matt Robinson is still away on a mini vacation in the Bay Area. He enjoyed San Jose so much. They're staying out there apparently in the San Fran area, family there as well for another day or two, and then they're coming back to Reno this weekend. Matt will be on Sunday's show instead with us this weekend, but it is a huge Thursday card. It's actually probably a good thing it's just two people on this show, because it is a huge card here on this Thursday, man. We've got a 14 gamer here to go through for this Thursday, so we'll be very quick when it comes to last night. Really wasn't much to say other than, look, called it pretty well with Ottawa Buffalo, as far as Buffalo on the Malinsky special spot off the road trip took Ottawa first period money line, and sure enough, 5-0 Ottawa after the first 20 minutes, and they cruised to a 6-2 win over the Buffalo Sabres. Pretty much puts a final nail in whatever coffin there was for Buffalo faint playoff hopes. But Ottawa gets the win. They continue to play spoiler. It's now 3 wins in a row for the Ottawa Senators as they jump on Buffalo, and they don't look back. Best bet winner on the show yesterday as well, with over 6.5 in that Senators-Sabres game. And then in the Boston-Tampa game, pretty good game. Not quite as exhilarating as the Boston-Florida game, but there still was some physical play, a fight in the game as well. Two teams that don't like each other, and Tampa Bay gets the 3-1 win. You could tell Boston was missing a second gear last night in that game after the huge comeback against the Florida Panthers. Didn't have a lot of gas left in the tank, and you could definitely tell that in the third period. So Tampa gets the win, and even though Tampa was in that spot, off a 4-game or longer road trip back home, I didn't touch Boston in that game for the very reasons I was worried about. That Florida game was an exhausting game, took a lot out of them mentally, physically, and you could kind of tell there was a bit of a hangover last night for the Boston Bruins, the way they played in a 3-1 loss to the Lightning, kind of a lethargic performance by them. Alex, good to have you back. What did you think of the 2 games Wednesday night?
Yeah, I didn't get to see a moment of Ottawa Buffalo, but I just knew that was going to be kind of one of those up and down games. Teams playing for exercise. You always talked about that, so it looked for the high scoring. But I was glued in and watching all of Tampa and Boston, and hey, the Lightning, its first period overtrend, still running hot. So I cashed with both teams to score as well, and unfortunately didn't get the draw. It was a close game. I thought, especially when it was 3-1 the first time for Tampa Bay, and that goal came back. Brandon Hagel was offsides, 2-1. I thought the momentum would shift back, and maybe Boston could tie that game up because they just needed a point to clinch a playoff spot. So I figured, okay, it seemed like that would have been a good time for them to get things rolling, go to OT, and they probably would have lost in OT. Just kind of, like I said, didn't play that great of a game, but if they were able to just kind of secure the point, I could have expected a huge just kind of exhale and just say, hey, we got our 1 point. This is a bad game. Let's get the hell out of here. And Tampa ends up getting the 2 points. But Tampa wins in the regulation. Big win for them as they're trying to secure things with their playoff race. And, just an interesting night. Another good games of low-scoring hockey, too. Like I said, we've been seeing the high-scoring affairs, and they've been super exciting. Of course, we had a bunch of them on the Betcast Tuesday night. But these low-scoring games, it's still been a lot of excitement, a lot of battles, a lot of physicality, of course, with those two teams who don't like each other, longtime division rivals now. So good hockey to watch, and we've got tons of good hockey coming up tonight.
Yeah, we sure do. And by the way, the number of fights has really spiked in the last 5 to 7 days, and I love it. It's great. Yeah, I loved Detroit and Nashville. We saw Mo Sider and Philip Forsberg fighting. It was wonderful. Yeah. Just spontaneous. And those are the best fights, man, where it's just, it's a big game. Detroit needs 2 points. Nashville is trying to keep their consecutive game point streak going, which is obviously still intact as of right now. And it was just a very competitive game. Things got a little testy, a little animosity. And it's just, I want to beat you and you want to beat me. And, you're getting in my face here. I don't like it. And let's drop the gloves and let's go at it. And that's what happened with Sider and Forsberg over the weekend. We're seeing a lot of that, spontaneous fights, and that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's excellent. Like I say, even I talked about it on the Betcast, but the game going back with Chicago, San Jose, saw Andreas Tennessee fight, and guy who's, season's over, not really known for dropping gloves. But like I said, guys are, handling things and settling things on the ice, not leaving it in the hands of the referees, not making, not going direct or over the top and cheap shot guys. Just drop the gloves, fight, settle it, and take your 5 minutes in the box. That's the way this game was meant to be. And so I love seeing it over the last week or two.
No doubt. And I like it. And you can tell the games are more important, and this level of physical play is definitely ramped up. And the old school hockey fans like Alex and me certainly love to see it. All right, Thursday card. Let's jump right in. Washington, Toronto. We've got the Leafs minus 180 home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. Very, very interesting game. You've got two teams here that met last week. I was all over the Leafs last week in Washington. Capitals in that Malinsky special spot last week. Coming off the road trip, Leafs were not happy about the way they played the night before in Philadelphia, and the Leafs jumped on them. We were on first period money line, the full game money line with the Leafs. They ended up winning that game going away, took over in the third period and pulled away in that game. Now you've got the shoe on the other foot a little bit here. Now you've got Washington, that got pumped by Toronto last week at home, and a Washington team that pretty much needs the points more than Toronto does, although Toronto now is only 2 points ahead of Tampa for third place in the Atlantic Division, and they even said it on the TNT broadcast. Paul Bissonnette, Mr. Leaf fan that he is, he was actually making the slight little suggestion that maybe the Leafs, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, believe it or not, to drop out, of the spot they're in right now, third in the Atlantic, and fall to a wild card because you avoid Bruins and Panthers in the first round, two nemesis teams for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't know about that. You got Rangers or Hurricanes waiting for you. If you fall to the wild card. It's not like that's going to be a walk in the park or a picnic by any stretch of the imagination, but it is food for thought. Bottom line is, look, Washington's just trying to get in the playoffs. They need every point and every win they can get. I expect a good effort from them here. I lean to the Caps here, but at the same time, Sheldon Keefe called out the team for that dogged effort against New Jersey the other night where defensively they crumbled. They cheated for offense because Jake Allen was putting up a wall against them, and then basically every counterattack ended up in the back of their net, and I know it did not make Sheldon Keefe very happy, and he kind of called out John Tavares as well, of all people, the captain of the team. So you would think there's going to be a strong response, too, from Toronto. That's the only thing that's making me hesitant on taking Washington, but for me, it's Washington or pass at this price. In revenge, they need the points. They're playing well. Great win for them against Detroit. Plus 150 for me is certainly where I would lean in this game. The draw could be in play as well, in my opinion, Caps, Leafs. And what I really, really like, I'm on over trifecta, but what I really, really like is both teams to score in the first period. This I like more than normal. Washington needs points. I think Washington is going to end up, jumping on the board early in this game, especially when they got absolutely crushed by the Leafs last week. But I think Toronto comes out with quite the foot on the gas pedal type of start as well after kind of a defensive dud that they had the other night against the New Jersey Devils. So that's what I'm looking at here in this game. And yes, Austin Matthews, game time decision with an illness, as if the Leafs don't have enough issues with their defense, cycling guys in and out of the lineup due to injuries and other ailments. And now, of course, you got Austin Matthews game time decision. So probably sprinkle on Caps and draw, but and a little over trifecta. But the one bet I like the most is what I just said. Both teams to score first period at a nice plus price, because I think both teams are going to want to start strong tonight, Washington and Toronto, in this matchup. What do you think here, Alex? Capitals, Leafs.
Yeah, I was just going to go dog, draw, split, but now you said you like the both teams to score. I'll be jumping in and grabbing. I see $1.40 for the first period over 1.5. As well as that both teams to score. Like I said, I think this will be kind of a good back and forth battle, but Washington definitely, like I said, needs the points a little bit more, even though Toronto, like I said, got, Tampa nipping on their heels a bit. But the thing is with Toronto, does it really matter if they start home or road? I think that's a bigger issue for some other clubs. Like
they're a better road team, honestly. That's a sterile environment there, Scotiabank. They've never had a great home record over the years.
And especially in the playoffs, because here's the thing, right? They go down a goal early in the playoffs, and it's, here we go again. So, that may not be the biggest issue for them, as opposed to say the trio logjam in the Central that we talked about. But I like Washington, more in this spot. If I had to take a side, I like the draw a little bit more. I think this could be a closer game. But goals early, I'm right there with you. So that's a good enough price. 1.5 minus $1.40. Maybe you can play a little small now and try to grab something in game live, and then grab both teams to score pregame as well.
Yeah, this was definitely going to be a pretty significant, not a significant look, but I was definitely going to have a stronger case here for Washington, but I don't, just something about the way Toronto lost against New Jersey, and Tavares kind of gets reprimanded by Keefe, and you'd think the Leafs are responding after something like that happens. Plus, Joe Woll in net is a kind of a goalie that, it wasn't his best game either against New Jersey. They kind of hung him out to dry. He, of course, is back in net tonight. You'd think he's going to maybe play a little bit better here for the Leafs tonight. Charlie Lindgren in net for Washington here in this game tonight. Sammy's not in net, Bailey. You're going on and on about how the Leafs can't lose tonight. You don't even know who's in fucking net for them. I mean, my goodness, Joe Woll's in net. Talking about Sammy this, Sammy that. It's Joe Woll in net, man. Come on, get with the program here. Get the facts right. Facts of life. Facts of life. I remember that show. Anyway, we move on here. New York Islanders and the Florida Panthers. By the way, as far as props go in this game, Washington and Toronto, look, McMichael has been great. I think we keep going to the well with him as far as props in this game. You look at also, Ovi's obviously been terrific for Toronto. This is definitely, to me, a Tavares over 1.5 points night, in my opinion. He gets called out. He's showing up. He will. He absolutely will. That's the one thing about Tavares is that usually when he knows when he's played a bad game. That was a pretty bad game from him specifically against New Jersey, just doing shit with the puck and mismanagement of it that he doesn't normally do. So from that standpoint, I think I look at the situation here with Tavares here, especially he's the captain. I think goal and assist are worth a look, and especially over 1.5 points. Remember, he had that little run last week and 2 weeks ago where he was consistently having multi-point games for the Leafs. So that over 1.5 points for Johnny Tavares tonight is probably solid situational bet as well, player prop wise here for the Leafs in this game. All right, New York Islanders, Florida Panthers. Florida minus 190, home favorites, 6 the total here in this one. This is one where it's a tricky game here. Florida, I don't trust the Islanders to beat a team like the Florida Panthers. That's for sure. I'm out on the Islanders. I've had my fill taking a shot with them and trusting them against New Jersey over the weekend, and they were absolutely pathetic. Shut out by Kaapo Kahkonen, pretty hard to do. Somehow the Islanders suffered that fate. And now Florida gets Aaron Ekblad back. So finally, this Panthers blue line is fully intact going into this game here tonight against the Islanders. Everybody's healthy now on the back end. Anthony Stolarz gets the call for Florida. He's making a case as one of the absolute best number 2 goaltenders in the NHL right now. That's how well Anthony Stolarz has played and continues to play for this Panthers team in net. Varlamov is going to get the start for the New York Islanders. Patrick Waugh is not really getting consistent, strong goaltending from either of his guys right now. Sorokin has been ordinary. Varlamov's been hit or miss in this situation. So I think when I look at this spot here, it's Florida or nothing. I do not trust the Islanders, even though they desperately need the points. I would maybe look at a Florida first period puck line, because look, they are coming off that game too against the Boston Bruins, where 3-2 lead turns into a 4-3 loss in the final 5 minutes against the Boston Bruins the other night. I know they weren't too thrilled losing a game like that to a team that they've got a mutual dislike against. So this could be a spot where Florida, maybe kicks some ass. I know Islanders are desperate, but desperate didn't matter against New Jersey when a very mediocre, erratic, meandering Devils team went in there and smoked the Islanders. They didn't even score a goal against one of the worst performing goaltenders in the NHL for the last couple months in Kaapo Kahkonen. So my looks here would probably be Florida in regulation of some kind. No Islanders tonight, at least not for this guy. Florida in regulation, maybe split with a Florida first period puck line in this game. What do you think here, Alex? Panthers, Islanders?
Yeah, I'm just going with the team total with Florida over 3.5. I got to search a little bit better, but I'm seeing even money at Pinnacle. So that means there should be anything in the pick 'em range. So laying $1.20 or better, I'm fine with going over 3.5 of the Panthers. It's this Islanders team just not really thrilled with how they're playing. And in Florida, we know they can lay an egg. They played, a kind of close game, like I said, the last meeting. 3-2 going past regulation, but I think this would be a spot here where Florida gets things rolling at home, at least gets 4 goals, and so just Florida team total, keeping it simple.
All right, there we go. Florida team total. That's definitely a good way to approach it if you like the Panthers, and Alex and I kind of lean to that side here tonight for sure in this game. Of course, Barkov returned last game for the Florida Panthers, so everything pretty much back to the way we want it to look like for their forward combinations. And like I said, the return of Aaron Ekblad is huge. Now that he's reunited with Forsling on the top pair, Montour can slide down with Mikkola, and then you've got Ekman Larson and Kulikov on the third pair. So everything kind of works out pretty well here in this game now that everybody's healthy and everybody's back in Adam. I think Rodriguez and Tarasenko do have some value for props tonight. They're flanking Barkov on the top line for the Florida Panthers. So, and Evan Rodriguez, I believe, scored last game for Florida. So Rodriguez, and maybe a look toward Tarasenko, who's moved up to play with Alexander Sasha Barkov on that top line. All right, Columbus, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh minus 230, home favorite, 6.5 the total here in this one. Pittsburgh is still pretty high on my fade list, but I will give them credit. Very solid win for them against a very good Carolina team. Kind of think that was a product, though, of Carolina just playing a shit ton of games. Wasn't a lot of gas left in that tank, but at the same point in time, you've definitely got to applaud Pittsburgh for one of their better performances in some time. We'll see how they fare here against Columbus. There'll be other spots to fade Pittsburgh. Tonight's not the night. I don't trust Columbus enough. It's obviously a Jackets team that on this road trip that continues now. It started out west, and now they're moving their way back east following a 6-2 loss to the Arizona Coyotes. This is the fifth game of this road trip, final game of this road trip. They go back home, and they play the same Pittsburgh team on Saturday night back at Nationwide Arena. So it's a home-and-home series here between the Blue Jackets and the Penguins. And the last time I trusted Columbus against Pittsburgh, which was when Pittsburgh was, again, playing pretty poorly earlier in the month, and Pittsburgh still beat them by a score of 5-3. Overs have cashed in 3 of the last 4 meetings. Tarasov is in net for Columbus. Back to Nedeljkovic for Pittsburgh, and I can't blame Sullivan because, Nedeljkovic played a little bit better in recent starts than Tristan Jarry for the Penguins. Tarasov, by the way, there's been a little leakage in his performances lately. 2 straight starts, he's given up 4 goals. So, for this game, I think I would lean to an over trifecta in this one. It'll be of the smaller variety with the Jackets and the Penguins tonight, over trifecta. But what I am going to maybe take a shot with is because I still want to believe that Columbus, after a shellacking against Arizona, maybe has a strong start. And we know if you're going to back Columbus in any fashion, do it early. The late part of the game is where things fall apart for Columbus. They had another disaster third period the other night against the Arizona Coyotes, and that's been their season in a nutshell. They have just been a pathetic third period team. I think they've got the absolute worst, dead last goal differential in the NHL in the third period this year, the Columbus Blue Jackets. And if they don't, they're close to being dead last in the third period as far as goal differential is concerned. But I think early in the game, after that debacle the other night, you might see them get on the board in the opening period. So Columbus, you can get them at a reasonable minus 140 just to get a goal in the first period. I'm going to sprinkle on that as well, and it coincides with the over trifecta that I'm looking at here in this game as well. But that's it. That's the only kind of anti-Pittsburgh stance I have, is that maybe Columbus gets on the board in the first period, but I'm certainly not trusting them after what I've seen on this road trip for 60 minutes, even against a Pittsburgh team that, to me, is still a dubious minus 230 favorite. What do you think here, Alex? Columbus, Pittsburgh?
Yeah, this is a pass for me. This is two bad teams. Obviously, Columbus, try to get geared up for their rival against Pittsburgh, but it just hasn't really worked out for them too well over the years. This has been a one-sided series, but no way I'm trusting Pittsburgh laying 230. I'm not trusting them early in the game. I'm not trusting them at all. So it's a pass.
That was kind of a night, too, for Pittsburgh. They got Jake Gensel returning to the building, and I think they did kind of pump themselves up energy-wise a little more for that game than they have lately. And now they play, back to a weaker team and, more of a dead environment. You're still not going anywhere. Your season's over. So they might play down tonight, Pittsburgh. That's my worry after that big win. I don't see that Carolina win being for sure as a spark to say, oh, Pittsburgh's going to start being spoiler here down the stretch. Not at all. I got to see more wins before I believe in that. All right, Chicago and Ottawa. We've got Ottawa minus 200 home favorites in this game at home. The total 6.5 shaded to the under here in this game. It's pretty interesting. Ottawa, huge favorite now. And look, they're playing. This is what Ottawa does. They miss the playoffs, and then once they're officially out, they play some of their best hockey all season. And they're kind of doing that right now. 3 straight wins against Jersey, Edmonton, and Buffalo. And think about the fact that all 3 wins were against teams that needed to play, needed to win, needed points for some reason. Edmonton's trying to further their playoff position. New Jersey's trying to make the playoffs. Buffalo's trying to make the playoffs. And Ottawa, sticks a cork in it against all three of those teams. So very, very solid run here for the Ottawa Senators. But now it is a scheduling disadvantage for them. It is back-to-back after being in Buffalo last night. So I'm personally not rushing to lay -200 with Ottawa or take Ottawa in this spot. And look, Chicago, to their credit, there's been a little bit of a pick up in their effort lately. Now they had that comeback against San Jose. And what I like about what Luke Richardson said after the win against San Jose is, yeah, we got the win. I thought we were shit. It's basically what he said. We played awful in that game. We're very fortunate we escaped, and Devin Cooley shit his pants against the Hawks for the second time in less than a month. But for a 60-minute standpoint, that was not a great Chicago game. The coach saw it. The coach certainly made a point of saying that to the players. And sure enough, that next game that they played against Calgary, that was a really solid effort for 60 minutes from the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, part of that was Calgary's kind of hit the shits too, but at the same point in time, Chicago 3-1 win was definitely a solid effort. Can they bring it here on the road? Because as we've said with Chicago, they've had some pretty good home efforts. The road's been a little more dicey for them here in this game. This is my game on the card where I don't have too much involved. I would say I would lean over, though, simply because first period, over bifecta maybe, because Ottawa's trending over right now. If you look at it, big time, 7 straight overs in the last 7 games for the Ottawa Senators. The offense is humming, 16 goals in the last 3 games for the Ottawa Senators. Maybe, just maybe, Chicago's offense percolating a little bit with the 8 goals they've scored in the last 2 games combined. So maybe that can keep going here tonight in a matchup with 2 teams out of the playoffs. Mrazek and Forsberg, by the way, your goaltending matchup here tonight. So kind of that sentiment that I usually have at this time of year. You got 2 teams out of the playoffs, playing kind of loose, playing kind of free. Maybe the over bifecta can get there here tonight. That's the look for me rather than either of the sides in this game. What do you think, Alex? Chicago, Ottawa.
Is that Mrazek confirmed? Because Goalie Post has Soderblom as probable.
Really? Okay, let me just make sure. Mrazek will patrol the road crease against Ottawa on Thursday, Ben Pope reports.
Oh, okay. All right, perfect.
So there we go. That's what I see.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, so that's good. It means we can go right from the Sox game to a possible winnable Hawks game. That being said, I'm not looking at a side here. I'm just going with the first period over. You can get that laying anywhere between $1.30 to $1.35. Like I said, Ottawa's been an over team. Hawks have barely, been getting some offense generated early, getting some good looks early. In the series history here, 6 of the last 9 meetings going over in the first period. So that's the only thing I'm going with here. Maybe jump in with something live. I'll take a look with player props in this contest, but most likely just sticking with that first period over.
Yeah, Batherson, Pinto, Dave, great calls. I mean, I was on Batherson and Pinto to score last night against Buffalo, and they're heating up for Ottawa. I have no argument there. Stützle as well, especially Stützle assist props. Jacob Chychrun to get a point is worth a look. I know he scored last night. He's shooting the puck a ton from the blue line, Jacob Chychrun. So Jacob Chychrun, goal prop, assist prop, or just play it safe with the point prop. But when you shoot the puck and with the volume he's shooting it right now, Jacob Chychrun, you're going to almost fall ass backwards into getting a point at some point, and obviously he did that last night for the Ottawa Senators, scoring a goal against Buffalo. So I think his props probably have value right now at this point. And then for Chicago, look, we don't want to overthink it. We don't want to reinvent the wheel here. Donato and Kurashev and Bedard's the line you always want to focus on when it comes to any props involving them. Although I will say this, Dickskin here, Jason Dickinson, man, he's been good. He's been solid. He's had a multi-goal game the other night, and don't sleep on him. I know he's on the bottom 6, but don't sleep on him and the contributions he's made here for the Ottawa Senators, for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Seth Jones too.
Games.
Seth Jones has been solid as well. So
yeah, good call. I think Seth Jones goal and assist as well. Points have been climbing for him in recent games as well for the Hawks. All right, Philadelphia Flyers. Love this pace we're keeping here. Philadelphia Flyers, Montreal Canadiens. We've got Philadelphia -160, road favorites, 6 the total here in this game. This is a bit fascinating one. The Flyers that was a wild game. I didn't expect Flyers Rangers to get that nuts the other night during the betcast, but it did. Turned into one hell of a crazy hockey game, and especially the third period was absolutely bonkers. Back and forth it went. Neither team could. It seems like every time one of the teams scored, the other team answered with a goal a minute later. So I think definitely when you look at this matchup here, we'll see if Philly can calm it down a little bit. That didn't make Torts very happy, playing a wild run and gun game like that against the New York Rangers. That's definitely not the way he wants to play moving forward. It looks like tonight for this matchup here, you've got Philly, obviously, after that tough loss against the Rangers, looking to bounce back. Samuel Ersson in net, confirmed for the Flyers. Caden Primo will get the start for Montreal. He's, of course, been getting a few more starts lately for the Canadians. Well, because he's now the backup since Jake Allen got dealt to New Jersey. So he's the official backup to Montembeault now since that trade happened. He's been a mixed bag. I mean, he gave up 5 goals to Calgary, and I remember being on Montreal team total that night, and it fell short. But he also shut out Columbus. It was brilliant against the Blue Jackets on March 12th, and he was very good his last start in Seattle on that road trip. 1 goal allowed against the Kraken and a 5-1 win over Seattle. So 2 of his last 3 starts have been gems, and he kind of had that shit sandwich right there in the middle, if you will, with that start against Calgary. So again, that's kind of what you get sometimes with Primo. It's a tough goalie to pin down as far as tonight. Is he gonna be on his game, or is he gonna struggle and give up a few tonight? That ends up being the question here in this one. I actually might sprinkle on the draw. Flyers somehow, doesn't matter who they play. It seems like they play a lot of close games between these two against most of their opponents lately. As far as these two teams are concerned going into this matchup, Montreal is back home off the 5-game road trip, which means Malinsky special, which says bet Philly here in this game tonight, but not at this price. They play a few too many close games for my liking to trust them in this kind of price range. By the way, they've beaten the Montreal Canadiens once earlier this season. In the prior meeting in Philadelphia, it was 3-2 Flyers in a shootout. And I believe we saw Primo in net that night. Yes, we did. The exact same goalie matchup, Primo versus Ersson, and it ended up going to a shootout. So that's the only bet for me. I'm going to dabble in the draw. That's about it. What do you think here, Alex? Flyers, Canadians.
Yeah, like first period over and the draw. We've seen Montreal cash 6 of the last 10 in the first period over. We've also seen 3 of the last 4 meetings go over in the first period, and definitely rolling with that draw. Like I said, this has been a close series, and Philly's just been playing tight with everybody. So first period over, 1.5 minus $1.20, and then I got the draw plus 325.
And Montreal with one hell of a great end to the road trip. The back-to-back wins against Seattle. They thumped Seattle at Climate Pledge, and then the huge upset against Colorado, 2-1 the other night, and they win in the return the return behind the bench of Marty St. Louis for the Montreal Canadiens, and they definitely had a very, very good performance there in that one. So the chat, by the way, it looks like there's a shit ton of people in the chat. We love to see it, and great to see everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. Already 260 people watching here on this Thursday. A busy Thursday, man. You got college hockey. You got Sweet 16 college basketball, MLB opening day, a huge NHL slate tonight. So it is a heck of a Thursday for sports fans and sports bettors. There's no doubt about that. All right, this is a good matchup coming up next here. Detroit and Carolina. We've got the Carolina Hurricanes minus 260, home favorites, 6 being the total here in this matchup. This is a Carolina team that, obviously they're off a loss that's not going to sit well, right? You lose to Pittsburgh, it's not going to sit well. But there is something that, to me, the way the schedule has chewed up, and in the last couple games, it's spit out Carolina. Really, the last 3 games. The Washington game was a sloppy game. It was a shootout. It was defensive mistakes galore by Carolina in that game. I think because they were dog tired from this ridiculous schedule they've gone into. Then they played Toronto on Sunday. They were just hanging on for dear life. Toronto did everything but tie that game in the third period. And then they looked like they hit a bit of a wall against Pittsburgh the other night, losing to the Penguins the way they did, 3-1. And now, again, it's just another one day off. And it's not like they've had one single stretch, Alex, where they've had 2 days or 3 days or 4 days off between games to really catch our breath and hit the reset button. They haven't had that. This is now going to be their 12th game in 18 days. That is nuts. That is absolutely nuts. 12th game in 18 days here for the Carolina Hurricanes. That's a schedule that is so grueling that it has me not even interested slightly in the Carolina Hurricanes minus 260 here tonight in this spot. I'm very tempted by Detroit, quite honestly. I thought they played pretty solidly against a red-hot Nashville Predators team over the weekend, 1-0. Again, the Washington game, it was a back-and-forth game. It was a coin flip game. It was pretty even, and they ended up on the wrong side of it, losing 4-3 in overtime in that game against the Capitals. That's now 2 losses in a row. You really need a response here if you're the Detroit Red Wings in this game. It looks like, as far as their goaltending is concerned, we'll see James Reimer tonight for Detroit. Of course, Alex Lyon has gotten the start the last 2. He was a lot better than he was. He was struggling mightily. They gave him the sit down for a few games, give him a chance to recharge his batteries. He played very well, albeit in a losing effort against Nashville. He wasn't that bad against Washington either, but they'll go back to James Reimer, who's won his last 3 starts, by the way. He stopped 90 of 97 shots in those last 3 starts, and his numbers for the season aren't that bad, actually. 2.98 goals against, .907 save percentage. He enters this game on a 3-start winning streak with victories over Buffalo, Columbus, and the Islanders. Now, granted, not the greatest competition when you're throwing those teams out there, Buffalo, Columbus, and the Islanders. Carolina's a lot better than those teams. But I think given the spot and given just how exhausted this Carolina team looks, to me, the last 3 games, there's been fatigue and exhaustion written all over them with just the way they've played. It's not been that typical Carolina way where they've been outplayed at times. They've been more turnover prone, and that's because this schedule has really been absolutely brutal for them. So to me, I look at this is a potential live dog, and at this time of year, you got to be willing to take some shots on occasion with big dogs at big prices in spots where we think we're going to get the dogs A game, and I think we're going to get Detroit's best here. So I'm going to go Detroit and draw split here in this game tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. What do you think here, Alex? Red Wings, Canes.
Yeah, right there with the Detroit and draw split. A little heavier on the draw here. Like I said, with a fatigued Carolina team, I think this could be one of those games where Detroit, especially if they're behind a little bit early, they can just, get their goals, take their points, and just kind of slow things down. Carolina, same deal. If it's a 1-goal game late, they just want to find a way to just get a point and get out of there pretty much unscathed. I mean, like I said, it's been an absolute nightmare of a schedule for them. And there's, like I said, a couple teams in that metro, they're going to have to be going through this home road splits now and having these condensed games. So they just got to navigate it, as best as they can and try to get as many points out of those games as possible. So I think we see, Detroit should probably end up getting the win here. Maybe, look for, I can see like a 4-3 or 3-2 Detroit win in a shootout. That's kind of the gut feel I have. So Detroit but heavier on the draw.
I agree. I mean, Carolina, obviously, I don't love it that they're off, a bad loss to a team like Pittsburgh, but at the same time, you really got to have that energy level up there. And to me, they haven't looked like a team with that energy level where it needs to be here in recent games. Larkin and Kane. I mean, those are the guys that I want in these spots right now because they are big-time players. They often show up in the bigger games for the Detroit Red Wings. So obviously, if I'm going to look at props for them, those would be the looks. I was disappointed Gensel had such a quiet night against his old team, but again, I think that again goes back to the fact that this team's been just ran roughshod with the schedule and how brutal it's been, how grueling it's been. I do like Seth Jarvis. I mean, I'm going to go back to the well again. As long as he stays on that top line for Carolina with Gensel and Aho, there's going to be value as far as Seth Jarvis for the Carolina Hurricanes as far as his props, specifically his goal prop up there on that top line. All right, San Jose, Minnesota. We've got the Minnesota Wild minus 400 home favorites in this game. No, thank you. I don't care that you're playing San Jose. I wouldn't lay minus 400 with Minnesota against the Minneapolis Pee Wee hockey team. Never mind the San Jose Sharks. 6 the total in this game. No, that's just not the right price range for the Minnesota Wild. Obviously, we know it's because they're playing San Jose, who have lost 8 in a row, 6-3 loss to Dallas with our guy Matt Robinson in attendance that night. Not a great effort there. Blow the lead against Chicago, lose 4-1 at home. Now they start a road trip. Their last road trip, 5 games. They lost all 5 to Philly, to Pittsburgh, to Columbus, to Chicago, to Nashville. What they did do is they gave up 4 goals or more in 4 of the 5 games on that road trip, and they've given up 4 goals or more to the opponent, this San Jose team now in, let me count it up here, 7 straight games going into this matchup tonight. So while I don't want any part of Minnesota money line or regulation line or puck line or anything like that, I do lean team total, but then I looked at the team total earlier and minus 160. I don't really love that price either. So really, really tricky here. Over by Fecta has been pretty good with San Jose lately, even with Blackwood in between the pipes. We talked about it. Even though he was playing well before his injury, he's still a very inconsistent goalie, like he's been his whole career. Did I trust him to be on his best coming back from the injury? No. And we're kind of seeing that. It's been kind of a hit or miss for Mackenzie Blackwood. He's in net tonight again for San Jose. It's Philip Gustafson getting the call for Minnesota. Yeah, 10 goals in his return to the net for San Jose, Mackenzie Blackwood. 10 goals allowed in the 2 games combined against Dallas and Tampa Bay. Pretty good teams, but still not really good. Not what you want to see, 10 goals allowed. So this one, I lean Minnesota team total, but I don't love the price. And I lean over by Fecta. Maybe a small bet there, but again, not in love with either. What do you think, Alex? San Jose, Minnesota.
The 3 last meetings here in St. Paul have gone either by 1 goal or gone past regulation. 2 out of 3 past regulation. Last 3 decided by 1 goal. So I'm seeing plus 460 at FanDuel. And I'm seeing plus 450 at Caesars. With that kind of price, you have to take a sprinkle with the draw.
The draw? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can look at here. Minnesota should get goals, but like I said, they've been leaky defensively too. So this could be kind of one of those barn burner back and forth track meets. So maybe a lean with the over 6 in the game, but definitely liking the draw here at that high of a price.
Yeah, I think so. I think actually because I don't know if I trust Minnesota to keep the clean sheet, to steal a soccer term. And the total is only 6. So I definitely like that full game over with the total only being 6 here in this game. Sprinkle on the first period. Like I say, over by Fecta, but I like the full game over more. Because I remember the last San Jose Minnesota game. It started out slow, and then the goals exploded at XL Energy Center. It was actually a slow first period, and then the goals came the last time they played here at XL Energy Center. So that's why I'm going to sprinkle on the first period over, heavier on the full game over. And you've talked me into that draw. How can, at that price, even though it's San Jose, it's hard to trust, but at the same time, if you're Minnesota, you're kind of fading out of things here as far as the playoff race is concerned. Is there going to be that pedal to the metal effort and attitude tonight? That remains to be seen from this group, who, by the way, it looks like Eric Sinek. The good news is, they've missed him. He is finally back tonight after a 5-game absence. So it's definitely a help for the Minnesota Wild having Joel Eriksson back in the lineup tonight, returning from injury. All right, next up, as we continue along, we've got Calgary, St. Louis. St. Louis minus 130, home favorite, 6 the total in this game. I like St. Louis here. I mean, I think this is just dirt cheap, this price. We've talked about how Calgary is just looking like they're fading fast, playoffs out of reach, kind of giving you, not a little bit going through the motions, but really they're not good enough right now. And we're kind of seeing that. They're certainly not good enough on the defensive side right now, this Calgary team at this point in time. St. Louis is off a very tough loss against Vegas, where I think they played well enough to win. Binnington was solid, but unfortunately Logan Thompson was spectacular. It was one of the best games he has had all year, and it ended up being one of those spots where, the Blues played well enough to win, and they had their chance in overtime to get the 2 points. It was a penalty shot for Buchnevich. He, of course, was stopped by Thompson. It was one hell of a save. And then, of course, naturally, that right when that happened, I'm like, watch Vegas go down and score the next shift. And that's exactly what happened. Marchessault got the overtime winner. You can't lose this game if you're St. Louis if you hope to make this final push for the playoffs. Losing out on the extra point against Vegas, and falling a further point behind both them and Nashville was bad enough. You've got to win this one. And again, must win doesn't equal will win. Nothing will shock you, but Calgary looks like they are ready for the golf course. That's what I've seen out of Calgary here in some of these last few games. So St. Louis for me, minus 130 in this one. Maybe a sprinkle too with the team total, because I prefer that, because I think the Blues had a million chances, just couldn't bury one against Vegas. Against this blue line right now that's kind of scuffling, maybe a better chance the puck goes in the net. So I'll split it between team total and money line on St. Louis here. Alex, what do you think here? Flames, Blues.
I like the first period over here. I think I might be wait before jumping in. St. Louis at $1.30 cheap against a Calgary team that seems, like I said, pretty much kind of playing out the season. But this is kind of a fishy line. Why is St. Louis so cheap at home against a Calgary team that seems to be kind of
I agree with that.
So yeah. I'm taking my shot with the first period over, and with such a big card, this will be one I'll keep an eye on. I'll definitely be trying to look for something in game, but maybe Calgary ends up with a 2-0 lead. Maybe they show some life early, and then they run out of steam, and then we can back St. Louis coming back. We've been seeing a lot of that lately, where teams blowing leads left and right. So I'm playing it safe with the first period over, and then maybe jumping in with something live in this one.
No doubt. Yeah, won't you be my neighbor? I've heard that. Someone on NHL Network sung that the other night before the Vegas St. Louis game. I heard it. I'm like, they must be listening to me. They must listen to this show. That's what we've said before. But yeah, as far as props, yeah, Jake Neighbors, I do like get back on that train one more time here with Neighbors tonight in this game. I know he didn't score against Vegas, but it wasn't for lack of opportunity. That's for sure. Definitely interested in those props again. Oscar Sundqvist, though, that's the bad news for us, St. Louis. He took a huge hit in that game against Vegas, torn ACL, season over. So he'll be reevaluated in 6 months. So no more Sundqvist juices, unfortunately, on the ice the rest of the season here for the St. Louis Blues. Unfortunate incident there. Tough to see that, no doubt. All right, next up we've got, as we continue along here, Vegas and Winnipeg. It's a rematch of the first round of last year's Stanley Cup playoffs with the infamous Rick Bowness end of series press conference after they got eliminated with they were so much better than no pushback. He said no pushback 10 times during that. It was funny to hear that. But Winnipeg minus 120 home favorites total in this game currently 5.5, I should say, shaded to the over in this game. I don't know, but the gut tells me Winnipeg stops the bleeding tonight and wins. I thought they did take a step forward against Edmonton the other night, beating the Oilers. We'll see if they can build on that. Even though it was a loss, it was an overtime loss. You still got a point. You battled back from a 3-1 deficit. I saw signs of life, positive signs of life from Winnipeg, even though they fell in overtime. And this is a team that knocked them out in the first round last year. I kind of think this is a spot to stop the bleeding here for the Winnipeg Jets, but I'm on the fence. I lean Winnipeg. I would only look at the Jets, but I'm on the fence here because at the end of the day, they have not found that way to get the dub during this losing streak, which is now at 4 games. Vegas, meanwhile, too, another factor that kind of worries me is they're off that just, stunning loss to Nashville the other night. Just unbelievable. 4-0 victory, 4-0 lead for Vegas disappears. Nashville comes all the way back, wins in overtime 5-4 against the Vegas Golden Knights the other night. So, that didn't sit well with Vegas. And look, I got to give Logan Thompson his due. He's in net here for Vegas. He was excellent against St. Louis. He's in good form right now for the Vegas Golden Knights. And you know what? To be honest with you, he might even be in a little bit better form right now than his counterpart tonight, his adversary, Connor Hellebuck, who has been decidedly ordinary in recent outings for the Winnipeg Jets. Yeah, I'm looking at Logan Thompson's numbers since March 17th, since he came back from a 5-game stint not playing. He's given up just 1 goal in his last 4 starts. Very, very impressive, and he's won 3 of his last 4 as well for the Vegas Golden Knights. Beat New Jersey, beat Seattle, and beat St. Louis. So playing better and making a case slowly but surely to maybe wrangle the net from Maiden Hill should this team make the playoffs. That is how well he's playing at the moment for the Vegas Golden Knights. So I kind of lean Jets. I think the draw is in play here with Vegas and Winnipeg. Might go in on that. Totals-wise, Vegas blowing a 4-0 lead. You think they want to tighten up. And Rick Bowness said it against Edmonton. He wants to tighten it up as well. He said, still had a few too many blunders with the puck management issues, bad line changes, which led to odd man rush situations for Edmonton in the last game. So this kind of feels like it's a low-scoring battle. But again, 5.5 for me, that's tough to ever bet unders when you're dealing with the total down to that level at 5.5. What do you think here, Alex? Vegas and Winnipeg?
Yeah, I mean, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I'm also on this draw as well. And it's mainly because this Vegas has just been letting everybody stick around. And like I said, blowing the lead against Nashville. You had the tight game against going back. We go with Seattle. This just feels like it could be one of those games that's kind of a low and slow battle. It's, but even with a 5.5, I'm a little leery in that. This has been a history of overs. Like you said, with the fact that Vegas giving up those goals late in the period, maybe we see them tighten up early. And if they tighten up early, we know Winnipeg just kind of follow suit when teams kind of tighten up defensively. This could be one of those lower scoring games. So I'm a little scared off of the total there. Don't really care for a side. Just going with the draw at plus 340. Shop around for that too, because I'm seeing some prices that are hovering right around that 300 range. So definitely try to get the best of that number with the draw here.
All right, good stuff there. I agree with that. Make sure you shop around because the draw prices are really fluctuating more than they did earlier in the season from one sports book to the next. So it's very important to point that out. As far as the props here, Eichel and Marchessault, if you are going to do damage for Vegas, if they're going to win, I mentioned Dorofiev's got value. It's tough to find for Winnipeg because no one's really, on fire right now. But I guess if you will say this, Sean Monahan has been pretty solid still in some of these games. So I think he's probably your best option as far as who's in best form right now for the Jets. I would say, probably at the moment, Sean Monahan for them. All right, one of the games of the night for sure. Should be a good one. New York Rangers, Colorado Avalanche. We've got Colorado minus 145. Home favorites in this game, 6.5. The total here shaded to the under in this matchup. Should be a good one. Two teams that certainly could come out of their respective conferences in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Igor Shesterkin in net for the Rangers against his former battery mate, of course, starting for Colorado, Alexander Georgiev. So Georgiev against his old team, the New York Rangers. This should be a fascinating matchup. The one thing I won't do here, and I look, the Rangers, to their credit, I thought that Philadelphia spot, they were vulnerable after the two big home wins against the Bruins and the Panthers back-to-back, but they found a way. They did not play their best hockey, but they found a way to win despite not playing their A game, and that's the mark of a good hockey team when you see that. That being said, now you're going to Colorado where this Avs team got a little slap in the face and a little splash of cold water on the face with a 2-1 home loss to the Montreal Canadiens the other night. This could be a Colorado response spot, in my opinion. I like Colorado first period puck line in particular in this game, just because I think they know enough is enough with the slow starts. Columbus, home game started slow. Pittsburgh, home game started slow. Montreal home game started slow as well. Actually, they did score, and then Montreal answered quickly. But they've had those lulls in the opening 20 minutes, and Jared Bednar spoke out about it following the Montreal game that, it's been a pattern now the last few games that they've had these slow starts. So I like Colorado, but I like them first period puck line here in this game. This is a great matchup here with these two teams. I am excited to see how it plays out. As far as the total goes, look, we know Colorado at home, for the most part, they've gotten these games to be pretty higher scoring. I think it can kind of get back to that. And who am I to argue with 7 straight head-to-head meetings going, or the Rangers, I should say, going to the over 7 straight games. The head-to-head has actually gone under in 4 straight. But who am I to argue with the Rangers overrun? So I'm going to sprinkle on over 6.5. No bifecta, no trifecta here. This is going to be Colorado first period puck line over 6.5. Kind of think I have to sprinkle on the draw too, Alex, because of what we've seen with the Rangers and the Avs head-to-head. 3 straight have gone past regulation between the Rangers and the Avs, including a 2-1 game here in Colorado last year between these two teams. So 3 straight head-to-heads have gone past regulation, and 4 of the last 6 meetings between these two teams have also gone past regulation. So that's where we'll approach it here with Colorado first period puck line over 6.5. Maybe I add the over 1.5 just because Colorado, sometimes when they have these fast starts, you sometimes get your 2 goals in the first period and a little on the draw here as well. Alex, what do you think here in this one, Rangers, Avs?
So I have 4 plays in this game. I have the first period over 1.5. I laid $1.35 with that. I have the draw here at plus 335, as you mentioned. 3 consecutive meetings and
3 straight.
3 straight, and 4 of the last 6 have gone past regulation. And then I also have 4-4 tie for 60-minute correct score at plus 2,100. The fourth play I'll talk about a little bit later. That's a bargain bin special. But I think this is going to be a fun back-and-forth game. These are two teams. We saw how it was the last matchup. It was absolutely electric, and that was one of the early kind of games of the year, if you will. I think it's going to have that same kind of pace and feel. And like I said, the Rangers been hot offensively. We know Colorado's a team never say die, and it's been making us money as a result of it with their comeback. So even if they're down a goal or two, you never really count them out. Maybe it's a spot to look for them live again if they're down a goal after the second intermission. So it should be a fun one to watch, and a lot of good spots in this one.
I agree. Should be a fun one to watch. I totally agree with that. So should this game. Another good one. LA Kings, Edmonton Oilers. Next up here in this matchup, we've got Edmonton minus 160, a home favorite. It's pretty sizable home favorite here for the Edmonton Oilers against an LA team playing some nice hockey right now. And the total right now sitting at currently it looks like 6 here, shaded to the over in this matchup, Kings and Oilers. Oilers overtime win against the Winnipeg Jets in their last game. We'll see if they can keep it going. They snapped a 2-game losing streak over the weekend to Ottawa and Toronto, getting that 4-3 overtime win against Winnipeg. Now they return home. Does not make the Malinsky special criteria, though. It was only a 3-game road trip for Edmonton, but now they are back home here in this one against the LA Kings. LA's won 4 in a row entering this one. Minnesota, Chicago, and Tampa Bay wins at home, and then they go to Vancouver and they beat the Canucks 3-2. That was about as good a defensive third period, as the LA Kings have played all season long, the way they shut things down in very impressive fashion against the Vancouver Canucks the other night. The goaltending matchup here, as you would expect, Skinner back in net for Edmonton, Stuart Skinner. Cam Talbot is expected, not confirmed, but would be surprised if it isn't. Cam Talbot here getting the nod for the Edmonton Oilers here in this game, especially considering this is one of Cam Talbot's many former teams in the NHL. So definitely think we're going to see Talbot. And Talbot's form has been decent here the last few games. He's slowly starting to get back to closer to the Talbot we saw early in the year, who was playing quite well. Had that rough patch right along with the entire team, really. He had that rough patch, which led to the demise of Todd McClellan. But he's definitely played better here. I'm going to take LA in the first period here. These first period looks with these teams coming off the road, they've been pretty solid. And I don't think you have to do much to get LA amped up for this game. You're only playing the team that knocked your ass out in the playoffs first round each of the last 2 years. So I like LA in the first period. I don't know if I trust them for the 60 minutes, especially with Edmonton at home. They seem to get stronger and better as the game goes on. But we have seen some instances, especially at home, where Edmonton started slow and then they've responded and they've still come back to win the game. I got that Buffalo game in my mind last week. They were down in the first period, and next thing you know, it ends up 8-3 in favor of the Oilers in that game. I don't think they'll drub LA that way, but I do think maybe a little sluggish start here for Edmonton, and LA chomping at the bit to play this Oilers team and in good form, riding the high of the Vancouver win, a 4-game win streak, good confidence going into this game. I think the first period bet makes sense to me. Los Angeles here, first period. What do you think here, Alex? Kings, Oilers.
I like Los Angeles first period as well as first period over, and if those both can hit, I more than likely would be looking to back Edmonton to come back live in this spot. I think this is going to be one of those kind of back and forth games. The draw just missed with me on this one. Like I said, I do feel like it could be kind of close, but if LA hops out early and gets lead and Edmonton wakes up, we know how Edmonton can really put the foot on the gas coming from behind.
It's a live draw to me. Yeah. Maybe.
Live draw. We should be able to get some value with too if it's a LA lead after 20, but definitely looking at that Edmonton money line in game. So great live spot, but definitely as far as pregame looks, first period over and Kings money line. I got that plus 115.
I'm going back to the well with the same 2 guys for LA for goal props here in this game. Kevin Fiala and Gimme the Old Man, who's not playing like one right now. He's playing like he's in his prime there with Doughty and Dustin Brown and all those great cup years with LA again. Anze Kopitar, he has been rolling right now for the LA Kings. We cashed a bargain bin special of the night with Anze Kopitar against Vancouver the other night. So I am definitely liking Anze Kopitar again to keep it rolling. He's been in great form. Finally, we have ourselves a goal in the UMass-Denver game, early second period, 1-0 Pioneers. So There you go, a Denver 1-0 lead over UMass in that one. Denver, one of the higher scoring teams, I believe, in all of college hockey this year. Yeah. A lot of offense on that team, and they've been shut down to this point, but they get on the board against UMass. In the second period there. Kings first period. I like the Kopitar and Fiala looks for the LA Kings. Now, keep in mind, Chris Knobloch's made a lot of lineup adjustments here the last few games. Right now, it looks the Hyman, you can never say bad prop bet, right? I mean, the guy just cannot be stopped right now for the Edmonton Oilers. The fact that he's got over 50 goals, just absolutely remarkable. And I don't want to hear this nonsense he plays with McDavid. He's worked hard. He's gotten better at his game. It's not all because he's with McDavid. This is a guy that he had issues finishing consistently early in his career with Toronto. He has gotten better finishing around the net, in my opinion, regardless of whether McDavid, Matthews, or me is playing alongside his line.
Yeah, and can we knock it off with the bullshit about saying, oh, now because Zach Hyman got 50 goals, that the 50 goal mark's not still a milestone in this league? People the narratives that have been running wild about Zach Hyman have been absolutely fucking insane. People talking about his upbringing, like what does this have to do with anything? You know how fucking hard it is. There's only 92 people as of the beginning of this season that have scored 50 goals in this league. I don't understand. It's just asinine how people just going back and forth with this shit. Zach Hyman's a good player. He's having the best season of his career. Yeah, it took a while for him to get to this point, but here he is. So, deal with it. He's a quality goal scorer on a good team.
Yeah, I pretty much tuned all that shit out and all that rigmarole. What's the guy's name that apparently caused a rush? Berkshire or something like that, talking about it. Yeah.
Somebody DM'd it to me.
Yeah, it's just, I ignore it. Ignore the noise. You're right. He's a good player. He's having a great season. Case closed. End of story as far as I'm concerned with that. All right. That's a good game, though, LA Edmonton. Looking forward to it here tonight. All right, next up, we've got, by the way, I forgot to mention, Foegele and Henrique with Draisaitl. I think there's value with both of those guys tonight, Henrique and Foegele playing with Draisaitl on the second line for Edmonton. All right, next up, we've got Nashville and Arizona. We've got the Predators minus 170 road favorites. This game is at Mullet Arena in the desert. The total 6 across the board here in this game. Nashville, what a comeback. And, you were kind of worried that actually there's been multiple times I was worried about Nashville being a little bit flat. Obviously after beating Florida, I was worried about it because I took Detroit, but they still won 1-0. Although it was close, they didn't run away with it. That game was anybody's for the taking. And then the flat spot seemed to happen against Vegas because they were brutal in the first period. But somehow they rallied and they responded. And they ended up getting a huge 5-4 comeback win. The point streak stays intact for this Nashville team. They've already broken the franchise record for consecutive game point streak in a single season. Now they're just trying to make it so that nobody's ever going to touch that record, and keep it going. 18 now consecutive games with a point, 16-0-2 for Nashville during this run. Philip Forsberg, man, there may not be, is there a forward playing better than him right now? I mean, he's been that good for the Nashville Predators, been that awesome, that amazing for the Nashville Predators during this run. We'll see how they fare here. There's obviously a team they should beat, the Arizona Coyotes, but Arizona is always sometimes a tough out at home. We know that. They've played good hockey here at Mullet Arena the last couple of years. They're coming off a big win against Columbus, a magical night for Josh Doan, and we'll get to him in a moment as far as props go. The son of Shane Doan with just a tremendous fairy tale-like start to his NHL career. You can't script it any better than that. Are you kidding me? 2 goals in his NHL debut with his dad in attendance in the press box and playing for the team that his father played his whole career with. And that's how you start your career. That's amazing. That's just so cool. The moment that with the Doan family in the post game on the Arizona broadcast was so cool, so awesome. So it's just fun to see that. We'll see if the juice in the building is as strong as it was for that night with Josh Doan leading Arizona to a win against Columbus. Connor Ingram will be in net for Arizona. There is that little element of him playing Nashville, team he used to be with. We'll see how he fares here in this game. Keep in mind, he did play against Nashville January the 20th, and in that game he played well, but he also played against them in Nashville February 10th, and he gave up 5. So it's been kind of a mixed bag here for Connor Ingram in his 2 starts this year against his old team, the Nashville Predators. Saros is projected in net, but not confirmed. I said it the other night, I think, on the Betcast. It's probably not a decent strategy to take Nashville draws moving forward because that's their focus. That's their number one focus. They want to win the game, obviously, of course, but they want to keep the point streak going, and they want to get it to 19 games. So it's kind of, and I do think Nashville, to Raymond's point in the chat, a little tired, played a lot of games lately. This could be just get out of there with 2 points, or at least get out of there getting this game beyond regulation again to keep the point streak intact, to get it to 19 straight games. So I'm going to sprinkle on the draw here with Nashville and Arizona. This game, as far as totals, is kind of befuddling for me. I think we could see 6-5 or 5-4. Wouldn't shock me, though, if it's like a 3-1, 3-2 type of game either tonight with the Predators and the Coyotes. I will say this, the series history, 2 of the last 3 have been overs between these two teams. But in Arizona, here at Mullet Arena, we have seen 2 straight unders with these two teams. That's why I'm not overly that big on the total here tonight. But I do like the draw a little bit. Again, the focus for Nashville is they want to win, but more than anything, get the game at least to overtime and keep the point streak intact and make it a 19-game consecutive game point streak tonight. Alex, what do you think here, Nashville, Arizona?
Yeah, I was looking at first period over that over-under trend between home and road. That's kind of scaring me off of that a little bit. So I'm just sprinkling with the draw. It's this big card, got a lot of plays. And like I said, Nashville, this is a team you can trust. Now, keep in mind, in a note I was looking at, with Ingram starting for Arizona, Tourney has said he's going to alternate goalies the rest of the way. So we can keep that in our mind now. If you see Ingram one night, it's Vejmelka the next and vice versa. So going with the draw here, like I said, I think this would be kind of a close game. And if Nashville's a little fatigued, do we trust Arizona to just put their foot on the gas and blow out even a half-tired Nashville team? Not really. So I think this will be one that's kind of a 3-3. Could be 4-4 if it gets a little sloppy, but I'm not even touching the correct score here. Just going with the draw.
Going with the draw here, and I like it. I think it makes sense. And, we saw with Nashville, 1-goal game with Detroit. We saw overtime with Vegas the other night. The first thought is let's get this game to OT. Let's get this point streak, keep it going, get it to 19. I think there's definitely a possibility we see that here tonight with the Predators and the Coyotes. Not to mention the last game did go to overtime with these two teams down in Nashville, 5-4. It was for the Nashville Predators in that game. I mean, Forsberg over 1.5 points. It's obvious, but those are the ways you got to go if you're going to look at Nashville props. He's been that good. For Arizona, I'm going to see if lightning can strike twice and the fairy tale can live on for one more night. Why not another sprinkle on Josh? Josh Doan was their best forward, too. That's the part that is amazing about that debut. Not only was it 2 goals in his first NHL game, he was their best forward. It's not even up for debate. He was their best player that night against Columbus the other night. Plus 430 for him to find the back of the net once again tonight at Bet Rivers. I think it's well worth the sprinkle once again, to see if that magic can roll on tonight for Josh Doan in his second game in the NHL. All right, Anaheim and Seattle. Gosh, I don't know what the hockey fans around the world have done to get graced with this game once again for the second straight time, but here we go. In the same building, too, Climate Pledge Arena. Seattle minus 240, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. This is actually a game I do not have a single bet on, and I am proud of it. I'm Mr. High Volume, but not for me. Anaheim's the one team Seattle was good enough to beat because Anaheim's that brutal right now. You would think after in a game where they got pounded by Seattle, they come back strong and they show you something, but I'm not sure I'm ready to trust Anaheim to do anything for me right now. And there's no freaking way I'm laying minus 240 with Seattle. No chance in hell. So easy pass. I don't even love the props in this game. Easy pass. Yeah. What do you think here, Alex? Anaheim, Seattle.
Wow. Okay, because I like the actually like the over trifecta in this. I grabbed over 5.5 minus $1.10. First period over 1.5 minus $1.15, and I got plus 200 on both teams to score. I think this is 2 teams playing for exercise. They roll the puck out, and we see a bunch of goals back and forth. So that's the only thing I'm rolling with here. Over trifecta.
Aaron likes the over. Maybe I'll sprinkle on that. We'll see. It's only 5.5 here. This total.
You don't have to. Yeah. You really don't have to. It's fine.
You can take the game and say, you know what? No bets. Exactly. Yeah. I probably will. But you know what? It makes sense. This is what we usually talk about, right? 2 teams out of the mix, and you see goals often. The one thing, the reason why I didn't really look hard at the over is because we probably are going to see Dostal in net here tonight, because it was Gibson, in that 4-0 loss the other night for Anaheim against Seattle. And obviously I think more highly of Lucas Dostal right now. So that's why I probably didn't look at the over.
And I just think we just get a more relaxed feel from this. Even Seattle, when they were still trying to fight for a wild card spot, they were playing better defensive hockey. I think now we see that just regress a little bit. And it's not so much that not that they're going to play bad, but I think they're just going to just ease up things a little bit. And I think we see more offensive chances. So I know we're getting cheap numbers with Seattle because of that. So with Seattle games, I'm more than likely we'd be leaning toward the over trifecta if they're playing against another team that's also out of the race as well.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. Like, definitely, it's got the elements to being higher scoring just based on the fact you got two teams. You're right, playing for exercise. No one's blocking shots. Defense is optional. You might see something like that tonight with Ducks and Kraken. All right, we wrap up with another one of the really good games on the card tonight. Final game on this slate: Dallas Stars, Vancouver Canucks. Dallas minus 115, slight road favorites. 6 the total here in this one. Stars and Canucks, two teams that, you look at Vancouver, and yes, they lost to LA the other night, snapping what had been a nice little turnaround streak for them, winning 3 in a row. As this long homestand continues, they have 2 games left on this big 8-game homestand. Tonight against Dallas, and then they play Sunday afternoon, TNT, believe it or not, against the Anaheim Ducks. So that is the final game of this homestand for the Vancouver Canucks. And it's funny is that Gretzky's now back in the mix with TNT and the studio component, including on Sundays. So they'll all get to reunite with Tocchet. You want a lock? You want a betting lock? Rick Tocchet will be interviewed on that pregame show. No question about that. Or at some point during the TNT broadcast of Anaheim, Vancouver on Sunday afternoon. But before then, Vancouver has to deal with a Dallas team that's won 5 in a row all of a sudden. Making our guy Matt Robinson, I'm sure, very happy. 5 straight wins. The offense is humming. They have scored 23 goals in the last 5 games, the Dallas Stars. So that offense is starting to percolate. It's finding the back of the net with relative ease right now. You see Vancouver coming off the 3-2 loss to the LA Kings. And here's what I like in this game. Over bifecta for me. And maybe even over trifecta. And look, for the longest time, I've said no overs with Vancouver. They are trying to play tight defensive hockey. And I know that from an under standpoint, it is 8-1-1 to the under for the Vancouver Canucks in the last 10 games. But here's what I heard from Rick Tocchet after the LA loss. He said, we generated enough, but we weren't. Now he's talking about now the offense has to improve. All along, it was the defense has to improve. Our team structure has to improve. After the LA game, you know what he said? Our offensive execution wasn't clean. We need a guy at the back post for one of those tip-in goals. That's what he was talking about. That's what his gripe was. The finishing, the offensive side. So that's why I think now Vancouver's looking at this Dallas game as, whoa, Dallas is coming in here. They're scoring 4, 5, 6 goals. We need to get our offense going a little bit here coming into this game tonight against the Dallas Stars. So that's why I feel like it's a decent spot. It's hard, like with a team that's gone 8-1-1 to the under in the last 10 games. But I feel like this is a solid situational spot to go against the flow and maybe expect a few more goals than you might think here in this game with the Stars and the Vancouver Canucks here in this game. Not to mention, as far as overs are concerned, relatively decent over series history, 7-3 in the last 10 meetings. Here in Vancouver, by the way, we've seen 3 of the last 4 head-to-head meetings between the Stars and the Canucks go over the total as well. So, and look, it is still Casey DeSmith. And while I like DeSmith, he's capable. We like him as a nice backup option. He's played a lot of games now with Thatcher Demko sidelined. And I think you're starting to maybe see it a little bit. That, a little fatigue, little wear and tear, workload rising, and you've got to deal with this loaded for bear Dallas offense, which, by the way, Alex, now that they're healthy, they've got now Robertson, Hintz, Pavelski top line, Marchment, Duchesne. The Tyler Seguin may not be back. I thought he was going to be back. Yeah. It doesn't look like it. So I think Ty Dellandrea will stay in that second line. So they're not fully healthy. So they are still without Seguin, but to me, and then they've got the line that's been their best line lately. It's Jamie Benn with the 2 young kids, Wyatt Johnston and Logan Stankoven. It's been an absolutely terrific line for them. So, like I say, Dallas is in very, very good form. Sam Steele, says Landon, plus 600 to score a goal. Even though he's on the 4th line, he's scored in 5 of the last 7 games against the Vancouver Canucks. So there you go. That's a bargain bin type of selection there for Landon, who, of course, is a big Dallas Stars fans. So for me here, I'm going to look toward a over trifecta here, over 1.5, full game over as well, and a little both teams to score in the first period here in this game as well. And look, I know Ottinger is likely to be in net, and he's been better lately. But again, now we finally hear Tocchet saying, yeah, our offense now is something we've got to focus on more than our defense coming off that LA game. So we'll see if it plays out that way. Alex, what do you think here? Great game to wrap up the night, Dallas, Vancouver.
Yeah, it is. I'm on the over trifecta too, but a little bit smaller on both teams to score, a little heavier on the full game over and first period overs. Like I said, I definitely think, the Smith, he's getting a lot of work. Obviously, they're waiting for Demko to be back and healthy and refreshed for the playoffs. Ottinger has had his spotty moments as well, so I do think we have goals here. This is a fun back and forth game. Draw kind of narrowly missed out on this one. If I'm seeing the pace, I might try to grab one live. But just sticking with the over trifectas, but like I said, heavier on the first period over, heavier on the full game over.
Good stuff there. Like in Dallas and Vancouver, first period, a smaller version of the over trifecta here. Nothing on the side for me. I mean, Dallas is playing well, but there's also a part of me that says Buffalo, Montreal, Calgary. Or actually, I'm looking at Vancouver, but even Dallas's wins. Arizona twice, Pittsburgh, and San Jose. The one good win was against LA during this win streak here. So, we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, Ottinger is playing better, I think, the last few games. But, let's see against, pretty good Vancouver team. And like I said, to Smith, I think Dallas can find their goals here tonight in this game as well. And like I said, as far as props go, you got to roll with Jamie Benn right now. The guy is absolutely on fire. He has been totally revitalized playing with those two kids, Johnston and Stankoven. He's playing great. So whether it's a goal prop, assist prop, maybe even for a little bang for your buck, over 1.5 points on Jamie Benn. And he's had a couple multi-point games lately for the Dallas Stars. And then for Vancouver, we've talked about the two players that remain on that top line with Pettersson, Garland, and Höglander. Still think there's great value with both of them as long as they remain on the top line for the Vancouver Canucks. All right, great stuff. What a card. 14 games. We got it through it in a little over an hour. I told you I wanted to keep a brisk, rapid pace. Partially because I've got this Thursday NBA show that I do every week at 4 p.m. Eastern. So I wanted to make sure we got through this card in enough time.
We got baseball to watch, some of us.
Yeah, and exactly. We do have a slew of opening day games, including Alex's White Sox coming up at the top of the hour here. So great stuff. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. 372 people watching right now on YouTube. Very much appreciate that. And we appreciate everyone that is currently a member on Patreon, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. Our daily sides, totals, and player props are posted on the page each and every single day. Goalie charts, totals charts, power ratings. Of course, we've got exclusive live betcasts coming up in April and beyond. Plenty of them down the stretch of the regular season and playoffs. We'll start announcing some of the dates next week for these betcasts, including the free-for-all public betcasts. We'll definitely have at least one or two of those. So that's all coming your way in April. More Patreon exclusive live betcasts. We'll eventually do the Q&A. We had to postpone it just for a little bit with Alex back home, but we will get to that, no question. By the way, UMass has tied it up with Denver 1-1 there in that game with the Minutemen and the Pioneers and the Frozen Four. But patreon.com/iceguys. Again, sign up. Great time of year to do it. And the thing, too, is, and I said this earlier in the week, when we get into the playoffs, I will have a bet on a same-game parlay in every playoff game of every series for the entire playoffs. And that will get posted on the page as well once we get into the Stanley Cup playoffs. So definitely looking forward to that. Patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. Again, your subscription goes a long way to keeping the show going. Patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. And again, check out the Ice Guys store as well. Get your gear and your merch each and every day available at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
When I get back to St. Paul and we'll be back on the air, there will be a discount special coming. But in the meantime, you can shop around, browse around, put some things in your cart, decide what you want, and wait for that moment to happen. Right over now, and everything in stock as well over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All
right, good stuff. Make sure you check that out. It's good that everyone talk about. See if there's some Dodgers talk in the chat. There's going to be good prices and spots to fade the Dodgers, but not with Miles Michaelis, at least not in my opinion. Not with that guy on the mound for the St. Louis Cardinals tonight. To me, that is shocking that he is their opening day guy, Miles Mike, which tells me it's all about the state of their starting rotation right now for the St. Louis Cardinals. It's not good. All right, good stuff. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. And by the way, we've got best bets. We've got bargain bin special of the night coming right up, right after we hear from our great daily sponsors, our great friends at Boston Hemp Inc. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. Get 20% off any order on the website using the promo code Ice Guys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night for this Thursday, 14 games. There's tons to peruse and choose from. Alex, what do you like for your bargain bin special tonight?
You thought I would give everything just froze on me. All right, we got two things here. One in hockey, we're going to go with Sean Walker in that Colorado and New York Rangers game. He has been absolutely electric on the blue line. A wonderful addition to that lineup. Just bringing it up here. Yeah, he scored a goal in the Pittsburgh game, scored 2 goals just a week ago against Edmonton. He's just been able to step up and deliver in some key moments for this club right now. You can get him as high as plus 1,100 at BetMGM, seeing 10-1 at FanDuel, 10-1 at PointsBet. So this is a bigger bargain bin spot for me. So we go with Sean Walker of Colorado to get a goal. And also for you guys celebrating opening day baseball, go right down the road for me on the south side of Chicago. Give me Andrew Vaughn to hit a home run plus 470. Grab that at FanDuel. So Andrew Vaughn for the afternoon in baseball and Sean Walker to get a goal plus 1,100 tonight for the Colorado Avalanche.
There you go. Sean Walker, who's fit in nicely with the Colorado Avalanche. And even Middlestad, who was, not always great in Buffalo. He's fit in pretty nice too with Colorado. But yeah, Sean Walker's been good. I agree with that. Good look there as far as Alex goes. Plus 1,100. Huge price there for Sean Walker with the bargain bin special of the night. How for my bargain bin, we've already talked about him. You're going to give me a bargain bin caliber price plus 325 for a guy that has scored in 5 straight games, 6 goals in the last 5 games as well. I'm talking about the old man, the captain of the Dallas Stars, Jamie Benn, who has been absolutely on fire for the last 6 games for the Dallas Stars. He's been absolutely terrific. He is on a 5-game goal-scoring streak with 6 goals in those 5 games, and he's plus 325 tonight to find the back of the net. So there you have it. Jamie Benn, Dallas Stars, plus 325 for my bargain bin special of the night for this Thursday NHL card. Alex is on the phone now. We can tell.
Yeah, I have no idea for life what just happened with my computer. It just started glitching out, and all of a sudden I had to reboot it. So hopefully you guys can hear me well.
Yeah, it happened to you. That's what happened, right?
Yeah, right, of course.
Unbelievable. Yeah, if it can happen to anyone, it can happen to Alex. That's sometimes the way it's been. All right, best bets here for this Thursday card. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, we'll go with that Calgary St. Louis first period over 1.5. You can get it now at minus $1.20 at FanDuel. So that's why I kind of waited until the end of the show to try to put that one in. So that is Calgary St. Louis first period over 1.5 minus $1.20. That is my best bet for this Thursday.
All right, there we go. I like it there. Best bet for this Thursday, Calgary St. Louis first period over for Alex B. Smith with his best bet for this Thursday card. My best bet for this Thursday NHL slate, A lot of great games tonight, lots to choose from. I'm excited about it. It worked out really well last night. So with the best bet on over 6.5, but it also worked out well with the other bet I had on that Ottawa Buffalo game. Taking the first period money line with Ottawa, catching a team off a road trip. I think you've got that in play here. I really like this situational look for the LA Kings tonight. I really do. They've got Edmonton coming off the 3-game road trip and an overtime win against Winnipeg. Be a little flat-footed in the first period. LA playing good hockey. A team that knocked them out in the playoffs each of the last 2 years in the first round. I expect a good start tonight for the LA Kings in the opening 20 minutes. I don't know if they'll sustain it for the full game. Edmonton's pretty good at home, and we've seen them start slow at home many times and fall behind early and then battle back to win. But that's what we're focusing on, that maybe they fall behind early and LA takes advantage. So LA first period money line plus 122 for my best bet here for this Thursday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone here for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much as Alex goes in and out of various stages of devices and connection. But he's back here to wrap up the show with us. And by the way, Alex, tell everyone when you'll be on next. I believe Saturday you're back, right?
Yes, Saturday, massive 15-game card. We'll be on at 11 a.m. right at the top of the hour. So I will be on for that spot, and then that'll be my last show here in Chicago. Next time I'll be back on will be late in the week, back from the cozy couch in St. Paul.
Okay, no betcast tonight, no betcast the rest of this week. But April is next week, and we will be ramping up the betcast. We'll be making all the announcements of dates for the Patreon exclusive and the free-for-all betcasts coming up in April. We'll be deciding on the dates. We're definitely going to have couple more at the very least in the regular season. And then once we get into the Stanley Cup playoffs, it'll be one betcast a week for sure, maybe even two. Like, that's how many we're going to do come playoff time. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to that. Remember, there'll be shorter betcasts, too, because there are not as many games that go deep into the night. So keep that in mind. But we're looking forward to the playoffs. The countdown is on. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button one more time on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast if you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Go Sox. Yeah. Enjoy MLB opening day as well. Yeah. Sweet 16 in the basketball tonight, NCAA tournament, all the hockey. It is a heck of a day to be a sports fan and a sports bettor. Enjoy the games and good luck, whatever they may be. Cash some tickets, and we'll be back with you tomorrow on a Beantown Friday edition of the Ice Guys.